This guy was the guy that taught some of the best animators in Disney how to animate better. Think about it like this: to work at Disney back in those days, not so much these days, but back in those days, you had to be awesome, awesome, like cream of the crop at drawing. So you turned in your portfolio at Disney, they reviewed it, and they got hundreds, if not thousands, of those submissions. And they literally picked the best artists. The best artists. They even would go and search out some of the best artists. Those would be the guys that would get hired at Disney. Once hired at Disney, they would quickly learn that they still weren't that good to animate. So then they had someone at Disney to teach them how to get better at drawing. So think about it, these guys were industry professionals, cream of the crop artists, just to get into Disney. I mean, you're going in there thinking like, yeah, like I'm like the best. I'm like the best of the best. I'm like at the elite of drawing. And then you get in Disney and you're like, yeah, yeah, you actually need to get better at drawing because to do the work here and animate, your skills aren't quite there yet. So that was kind of a shock to a lot of these guys. But whenever they would go to the life drawing classes that were taught by Walt, they would quickly realize, oh, I see. There's even more levels to this. There's higher levels to this. Because of this reason, a book like this is highly misunderstood by a lot of artists because it's almost beyond what someone would understand, even if they're really into art. Because it's art theory, it's philosophy, it's technique, all mixed into one amazing book. And it's coming from such a amazing artist in Walt that whenever someone like that is putting their thoughts into these notes that he would make, it's advanced stuff. And I believe he does a great job at simplifying it. But sometimes when something is made simple in a weird way, like we're so prone to complicate things that in a weird way, when something is made simple, sometimes we overthink it and overcomplicate it ourselves. And Walt, he used to make these, they were called notes. And back in the Disney studios, these notes, they would get, tossed around like baseball cards. They would just print the Xerox copies of these notes and they would share them, amongst artists. They would go to the live and be like, "Hey, you got note 55? Yeah, 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 I got note 45. Oh man, I need a Xerox copy of that one, and I'll trade you mine." That kind of thing. They were literally seen like currency at Disney. It was like a way to get paid. This is no joke. The information in here, it's 2 volumes. This is volume 2 of Drawn to Life. It's 2 volumes, and it's all on the idea of drawing from life and gesture drawing, and how this skill unlocks your ability to draw anything, animate anything, and also draw from your mind. But you have to read these thoroughly, and you have to really put it in your mind. Like, what is Walt trying to say here? What is he really trying to convey in each one of these notes? Some notes are more straightforward, and other notes require you to process the information and really think through, like, okay, what is Walt really trying to say here? And interpretation of what he's trying to say by application. The best way that I felt that I started to learn what he was saying was by focusing on one note and then taking it out to the field, drawing, and then from that, I started to understand what he was trying to actually convey in that note. One of the things that he talks about is drawing verbs. Don't focus so much on drawing details, drawing nouns, drawing things, right? But draw verbs. He was just like, if someone is tired, draw tired. Don't draw like the person sitting in a chair. He's like, focus on drawing tired. Focus on drawing the energy, the spirit of what that person is going through. Walt was a master of getting his students to think beyond what was in front of them and go into like the internal, the spiritual side of what was going on with the person. And caricature, for example, he taught a lot about exaggeration, how important it is to exaggerate whenever you're drawing a pose. And he would often say, push the pose, right? And if you see an angle, like make that angle stronger or more iconic or more defined. There's so many there's so much gold in here. There really is so much gold in here. And it's sad to me, like being someone that has been around art my whole life, and I've taught students and I've had my own students, and then I also see what's online. It's sad to me how misunderstood this book is, how often it's neglected, and in a way I feel like it's a little advanced. Like sometimes people see quick sketch examples of quick sketching, which are more like rendered kind of like poses, and they mistake that for gesture drawing, or for more particularly this kind of gesture drawing. This kind of gesture drawing is its own category and is uniquely like a standalone, its own specific thing. And a lot of times when people do quick sketch, you know, you're working with a model that's posing for you. You're working with a model that you're supplied, like someone gives you a photograph of a model, or you're literally looking at a model that's posing for you. I'm not saying they didn't do that here with Walt. They did have life models, but they were also encouraged to draw from life out there in the field. Go to zoos, go to safaris, go to malls, go to gyms, and draw people in motion who are living life, who are not posing for you, who are specifically not posing for you. And they would go to these places with missions to capture certain aspects, certain qualities in these poses in motion. And one of the things that he talked about was the first impression, the snapshot. These qualities of drawing from life unlock your ability to draw from your mind better than I've seen anything else. Like one of the most common teachings in athletics is that you will perform the way you practice. And that's why I kind of laugh at people who are always practicing drawing from a model, like in these ateliers. And it's just like, you're always going to require a model then, because that's how you practice. And therefore, that's how you're going to perform. You're always going to need the right reference. And if you look at like the main instructors of that atelier, you know, they hardly can draw anything from their mind. That's why they literally just draw from poses and from pictures all the time. And that's typically how you always see them do their tutorials. No, Walt was trying to teach you how you can go beyond what you're seeing and create something truly original, and or draw completely out of your head. And this book, man, this book is the cream of the crop, the cream of the crop on achieving that exact thing. And again, people don't have an eye for this style of gesture. So sometimes they look at this and they're like, man, what makes this so special? Their eye is less trained, so they have to see something more finished in order for them to actually realize, like, oh, that looks good, so that must be good. This right here is not just good, it's extraordinary. It's conveying aspects of drawing, and these drawings are done in seconds. that if someone is skilled enough that they can actually go and do drawings this good in seconds, that person can basically draw anything and imagine anything and bring it to life. Hence the book being called Drawn to Life, right? Because it's all about being able to draw things and give them so much life that they feel alive. And this can happen using a model or drawing from your mind. And since most of the guys that took Walt's class were going to become animators, they had to learn from they had to learn how to draw from life. Walt gives great feedback in these corrections. Basically covers anything you can imagine that involves drawing from his vantage point, from his perspective. Again, this guy taught when you go and look at like classical Disney films. I'm telling you right now, Disney is like full of shit basically. Like and I don't mean the artist in there. I mean like the way the company's going. The way the company's going and the artists that are working in there, there's some that are of course are super talented, but the standards have dropped so much over the years that it's nothing compared to the 90s. And those were the artists that Walt taught. The guys that animated Tarzan, the guys that animated The Lion King, the guys that animated The Colors of the Wind from Pocahontas, the guys that animated Mulan, the guys that animated Beauty and the Beast, The Little Mermaid. Those principal characters in movies were the students of Walt. So when you look at like, man, what did Walt's students accomplish? They were the best of the best of the best. You know, those films are alive and well and being made into like part threes and part fours and sequels and prequels to this day in 2024 because the foundation that those films laid were timeless because they were just that good. And Walt was their teacher. And if you wanted to find out what Walt, there was two Walts at Disney. If you wanted to find out what Walt thought and what his precepts were, here they are. They're in this book. They're literally in this book. And I'm telling you, everything you can imagine is covered in this book, simplified and articulated by Walt. And if you're an artist out there and you take your career serious, man, you owe it to yourself. I don't get anything, for pitching this book, right? I'm telling you, this book changed my life. When I first read it, there's going to be philosophy and art theory here that comes from a lifelong artist. And when you apply what he's saying, it will change your life. And what's funny is I had a teacher in school that told me, hey, if you take when I first went through this book, it wasn't even a book yet. This guy had all the notes. I went and printed all those notes at the print lab in school. Took like 3 hours, 4 hours. I didn't get home till midnight that day because I was printing those notes from a PDF he had. But he told me, hey, if you go, and this guy's name was Johann Klingler, probably the best art teacher I ever had. He went and told me, if you go and read Walt and you apply what's in his book, not only will your art significantly improve, significantly, like a you will see results that are noticeable, and you have skills that are noticeable that you will acquire. Not only will your art significantly improve, but he said it will also change your life. And I thought that second part was a little much, but I in a way I did believe him, but I thought it was also a little extreme. No, it changed my life. This is one of the best books out there on art, one of the most underrated books. And if there was one book I would recommend to an artist, if there was just one book, it'd be this book, Drawn to Life. Volume 1. This is volume 2. I would recommend both volume 1 and volume 2. So I guess there's like a little asterisk that goes with that. But volume 1 and volume 2 of Drawn to Life is what I would recommend because this covers it all. And if you actually apply it and you had the mind to apply it, this book will take your skills to the next level. Whatever level you're at right now, it will level you up. This has been JC Barba with his first live stream. Peace.